Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nicola, the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys Week 16 tight end start or sit decisions for fantasy football in 2020. Inside this video, I'm going over every single matchup from Christmas Day football all the way until Monday Night Football, and tell you whether you should start or sit the tight ends in each and every single matchup. Before I get into it, I'd like to ask if that at any point inside this video you do end up enjoying, end up having a great time, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2020 Fantasy Football Championship, as well as if you're not new, you've been watching for a little bit of time or maybe a while, please make sure you hit that like button down below. It helps me out a whole ton. So before we get into it as well, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from my friends, my sponsor over at OverlayDFS.com. OverlayDFS.com is the best place to play daily fantasy sports on the whole World Wide Web. Now, there's two options on their website. You got the progressive tournaments, which I talked about in last week's videos. In this week's videos, we're going to be talking about the match-up shop on OverlayDFS.com. What is that? It is so simple. You pick between two players, plus or minus the spread. Who's going to score more fantasy points on Sunday Night Football? Was it Jarvis Landry minus 3.5 or Rashad Higgins plus 3.5? The answer was Jarvis Landry minus 3.5. Who scores more fantasy points? Baker Mayfield minus 2.5 or Nick Chubb plus 2.5? The answer was Baker Mayfield. It is so simple. Anyone can do it. You guys do so much research to win your matchups every single week. Why not get some nice cashola on the upside here? Win these games on OverlayDFS.com. It is so simple. I don't think the upside made sense there, but what does make sense is winning money. It's easy. OverlayDFS.com, link down below in the description. And we are back. Let's get into it. Week 16 tight end start or sit decisions. First game here, Friday game, Vikings at the New Orleans Saints. Now, in this one, I like Jared Cook, but he's kind of teetering on the edge of being a start or a sit. I lean him to be more of a start because with Drew Brees healthy, that opens up a whole array of opportunities for Mr. Jared Cook. With Taysom Hill under center, there just was not the same type of chemistry there, considering Taysom Hill would rather just tuck and run rather than throw it to Jared Cook in the end zone, whereas Drew Brees is not very mobile at all. The guy didn't look very good last week, but with that said, I still view Jared Cook as a pretty safe option for fantasy football. But if I'm being honest with you, there's a lot of guys that I would prefer to have this week over Jared Cook. For the Minnesota Vikings, I think Irv Smith could be worthy of a start, but with it looking like Kyle Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, may end up playing, with it looking like I don't know which Minnesota Vikings team we're going to get on a weekly basis, unless Irv Smith was to score, I'm not too sure I'm bought in on Irv Smith this week up against a tough New Orleans Saints defense. Next game here to begin the Saturday slate, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tampa Bay Tom Brady at the Detroit Lions. These are two tight ends that you've been relying on all season long, and why not continue to rely on them here? Rob Gronkowski up against a not-so-hot Detroit Lions defense seems like a recipe for success. Great success this week up against the Detroit Lions. TJ Hawkinson has been unreal this season, going from an unreliable tight end last season to being all-reliable this year and just starting them every single week. TJ Hawkinson has been a fucking baller up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's definitely some reason to backtrack and fret a little bit here, but at the end of the day, you're not going to lose your championship with TJ Hawkinson on the bench. You're going to fire him out here up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Next game here, we got the San Francisco 49ers at the Arizona Cardinals. Now, there is definitely reports that George Kittle me Timbers may end up suiting up here on Saturday. Now, why I believe he will not be doing that is simple. Why would you let Jared Goff get hurt? Why are you going to let George Kittle get hurt? Why rush his comeback when you're out of the playoffs? There's no chance you get in there. Just go ahead and play Jordan Reed. I don't understand what the philosophy is with George Kittle coming back to play. Maybe because he's just a football guy and loves football. But with that said, if he plays, you have to play him. You just have to play him and believe that he is 100% healthy. If he does not end up playing, I'm still going to be sitting Jordan Reed in this matchup up against the Cardinals. And the Dan Arnold has been pretty decent as of recently, and actually might be a guy that I'm going to be hawking in on next year to potentially get that next step up of being good in fantasy football. But I don't feel like you can depend on him to win your championship game. Next game here, we got the final Saturday game, the Miami Dolphins at the Las Vegas Raiders. Darren Waller is a must start in this game. This motherfucker got 150 yards in 2 out of the last 3 games. Now, this matchup up against the Dolphins is definitely more scary, but we did see Travis Kelce play quite well up against that Dolphins secondary just a couple of weeks ago. And when you're the number 1 target on your team and you're a tight end, you're must start every single week regardless of which defense you're playing against. Now, we are going to be sitting down Mike Licky Amagasicki on. He could play and he could miss for the Miami Dolphins. If he plays and we're 100% sure he's healthy, I'm firing him up. But the fact that this game is on Saturday kind of tilts my brain into thinking I'd probably just look elsewhere unless I was stuck with Mike Gesicki this week up against the Raiders. Durham Smythe is going to be a sit for me as well, even if Mike Gesicki ends up missing. Now, onto the Sunday slate of games. We begin with the Indianapolis Colts at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Eric Ebron is injured, and it seems like he may end up missing this game on Sunday. With that said, even Vance Dance is going to be a sit for me as well. And all of the Colts tight ends, because it just does not seem like when Doyle's healthy, when Mo Alley Cox is healthy, when Burton is healthy, all at the same time, you're really going to have no idea which tight end Phillip Rivers is going to key in on. So in that case, you just sit every single tight end next game. Here we got the Atlanta Falcons at the Kansas City Chiefs. In this one, I'm going to be starting up Travis Kelce up against a very bad Atlanta Falcons defense. Is going to be very good this week up against the Falcons. It's a no-brainer start. This guy's been balling every single week for your fantasy football team. Let him bend your opponent over the table with no remorse. I like Travis Kelce here as a start. I'm going to be sitting down Hayden Hurst. Now, Hayden Hurst, you beautiful bastard, has 2 bad games in a row. When I'm out of the playoffs, this motherfucker rises up like a penis on Viagra and starts balling out. I can't believe my eyes that happened. But with that said, I'm not going to believe in him up against the Chiefs. I think there's a lot better options this week outside of Hayden Hurst. Next game here, we got the Chicago Bears at the Jacksonville Jaguars. In this one, I'm going to be sitting down Cole Kmet, and by sitting down, I mean starting Cole Kmet, because the Jaguars are a tight end's dream. He's going to go to sleep on Saturday night and wake up fired up to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars and play quite well against them. Now, he definitely is inconsistent. I could see him in this game really skull-fucking the Jaguars with like 5 targets, 4 catches, 40 yards, and a tug. Or maybe couple tugs, like Robert Kraft at a massage parlor. But I could also see Cole Kmet waking up, feeling dangerous, and playing like shit because he just doesn't get enough targets. But this matchup is too juicy for me to sit Cole Kmet. I'm going to be sitting down Jimmy Graham because it seems like Graham has been cucked by Mr. Cole Kmet, and Tyler Eifert for the Jaguars has just not been relevant since 2015. Next game here, we got the Cincinnati Bengals, where Tyler Eifert used to be actually quite relevant, at the Houston Texans. In this one, we have the case of tight ends that you need them to score to be valuable, and I'm not too sure how much scoring is going to go on this game, especially on the Bengals side. While they beat the Steelers last week, that's because the Steelers are stupid and just were not prepared for that game. I think the Texans will be much more ready in that case, and I don't like Drew Sample without Joe Burrow under center. Jordan Atkins is definitely a touchdown-dependent tight end here in this matchup. Next game here, we got the New York Football Giants at the Baltimore Ravens, and in this one, I like both tight ends, but man, oh man, how the fuck is the Pro Bowl allowed to be a fan vote? How is Evan Ingram a Pro Bowl tight end? This guy doesn't even have hands that fucking work, and you are going to make him a Pro Bowler? It's so disgusting when shit like that happens. Robert Tonyan, even Hayden Hurst deserves it over this fucking schlub. I can't stand Evan Ingram, but it's going to be hard to sit him this week up against the Ravens if the Giants just throw the ball to him, which they normally do. It just really depends on if he catches the ball or not. Mock Andrews should be able to perform in this matchup for the Baltimore Ravens. You drafted him early. While he has been disappointing in some games, not really his fault, more on Lamar, you have to trust him, and you have to throw him out this week in your championship game. Next game here, we got the Cleveland Browns at the New York Football Jets. If you have ended up enjoying this video, again, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already as well. Browns at Jets. I like Austin Hooper in this matchup. Hooper played very well last week up against the New York Football Giants. And I think this is another spot where Austin Hooper can perform. I don't expect the Jets to trounce the Browns like they did to the Los Angeles Rams, and I think the Browns are going to be fired up to win this one. Austin Hooper is in a very nice spot here up against the Jumbo Jets. I'm going to be sitting down Chris Herndon because Adam Gase doesn't know how to use one of the most talented tight ends in the NFL. Next game here, we got the Carolina Panthers at the Washington Football Team. Now, my reliance on Logan Thomas really centers around if Alex Smith is going to end up playing. Now, I have read that it seems like Alex Smith is going to end up starting. So based on that, I like Logan Thomas a lot this week up against the Panthers. I don't believe this is going to be a very high-scoring game, but I still think Logan Thomas, being that touchdown guy in Washington, being that number 2 wide receiver, even as a tight end behind Terry McLaurin, has a whole lot of opportunity to explode in this game up against the Carolina Panthers. I am going to be sitting down Ian Thomas in this game because who in the fuck was starting Ian Thomas before this game? Next game here, we got a revenge game from Melvin Gordon, the Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Chargers. And I like both tight ends in this game, but man, am I worried about Noah Fant. Fant just really hasn't been that great as of recently, but with the tight end landscape in fantasy football this season being so shit, the upside Noah Fant kind of puts around is very good, so I would be starting him in this matchup. Hunter Henry, I like him this week up against a very depleted Broncos defense. Next game here, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys. Now, while Dallas Goedert doesn't necessarily have that receiver one kind of connection with Carson Wentz as he does with Jalen Hurts, because Carson Wentz loved throwing the ball to Dallas Goedert. Jalen Hurts not as much, but I still think up against the Dallas Cowboys, Dallas Goedert should be able to get loose with Jalen Hurts. I'm going to be sitting down Dalton Schultz. He's also kind of on that spot that we talked about earlier where he's just slightly below the start-worthy category. If you're in a real deep league, Dalton Schultz could definitely be an option this week, in my opinion. Next game here, we got the LA Rams at the Seattle Seahawks, and in this one, we got two teams with a smorgasbord of tight ends. I believe third leg Greg Olsen is going to return in this matchup for the Seattle Seahawks. With that said, I just don't feel confident in any of these tight ends. Tyler Higbee and Everett for the Rams just do not seem like they are startable unless one of them is injured 6 feet under, taking their dirt nap. Jacob Hollister, Will Dissly, Greg Olsen. If I was to start one, I'd probably guess Dissly would be the start. But again, it's a guessing game because all three of those guys are going to be tag teaming that Rams defense. Next game here, we got the Les Titans at the Green Bay Packers. Juju Smith wasn't all that hot as of recently for fantasy football purposes, but last week he got back in the saddle and played quite well in that matchup, and I expect him to be much safer now going forward, so I like him up against the Green Bay Packers in what should be a very high-scoring game. Robert Tonyan has been unreal for fantasy football this year. He did start off very strong and then kind of faded away, and then recently has really gotten and picked up that steam to play very well again, so I like Tonyan here up against the Tennessee Titans. And final game here, we got Monday Night Football between the Bills at the Patriots. While this is an interesting game, not really, because the Bills are going to roll them, I think that the tight end landscape here is just not it. Dawson Knox, very touchdown dependent. Devin Asiasi. They've got other tight ends in New England. I just don't feel safe starting any of these guys, if I'm being honest with you. So thank you guys so much for watching. Merry Christmas tomorrow if you celebrate that. If not, happy holidays. I love you all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. And make sure you guys check out overlaydfs.com.